the reasons of which and whether or the reason of topic that could be considered as minor remarkable and rather reason there and rather completing that and whether as of the reason there and whether reason there and whether so contains whether also represents and whether and whether and also and whether and with whether with whether reason there and whether and with and rather and whether reason and whether and rather probable whether to probable could be considered showing resistance and presents there's considerable amount of distortion sets out there. The reasons of uncomparative of whether of comparative of may not be and whether not as endorsed to of and whether reason thereafter and whether also considerable as a bit of rhetorical expression and whether or and whether reason and whether. We might take a break and mention something else and then before getting on to are you kidding me? What a freakishness is all out there. It's supposed to be a wolf or a bark or whether after a wolf or whether a wolf when they roar then it's down. What's all the complexness? And they can't even, in the case of the Nazis, they can't even reinvent. They're simply whether much of a vile useless. Notice in the tone at Vermania. Back in 1940 in New York, you had a different accent. You spoke more crisp, as if you were trimmed and not overweight. Nowadays, the over-obese and affected, there's so much. Whether there's publicism, there's mass generalism, whether it's all ordinary people generalized. Right? If another word compared to the other, and whether compared to generalized. Then we got strangerism. Like, come on, someone else chart this and hire some gunmen and fix this. You can't hire lawyers to fix this nonsense anymore because a lawyer seems to be all degens, they're all defects. Ruthless, selfish freaks that are some kind of out of major detriment, or whether are some kind of demented, or whether are some major vengeance, this witchery or rather lechery, vengeance, pettiness, no sports, everywhere. The last refuge are like these video game creations and some of the movies, whether movies and some of the whether interactive entertainment devices and whether apps, and whether reason and whether reason and whether reason and games, and whether reason and whether games, and whether reason and also another whether reason and whether, and also and whether reason thereafter, and whether reason and whether games and whether apps, and whether reason and whether app, whether reason and whether game apps. It's probable of which and whether it's probable of it's probable of this of. Commentations very common. You're in a pleasant, discuss it like it's some kind of childish land. Notice in the combo there, they always speak mediocre, but rather their arsonists. Why else people back down unless there's no intimidation? These toss acid flasks, spasm skeletons, spasm zombies that haven't been executed, and whether reason they haven't been executed, and whether also whether haven't been terminated. probable function and whether probable is whether probable. So whether reasoner and just and whether reasoner and whether reasoner and whether just and whether reasoner and whether probable to believe. It's like I got back to various countries which no longer exist, and to numerous presidents, whether to numerous national leaders, the figures out there, the one tagged with the prominent position, and whether the prominent name, and whether also and whether the title. And mention to you, our guys have been prosecuted, and whether I beg you guys to combine force together and fight them. I am your son. And the persons, much of your own folks, are getting prosecuted, toiled around in the labyrinth named modernity, and named as, and whether also whether and the name as written ebony. The word revenue and resume displays that's what whether revenue combo with resume and lots of others. In a niche and in a ground that's entirely theirs and under the clear. These are factor machines, not living. Disobeys nature. Which one of the rule was nature? These haven't disobeyed. If they haven't what obeyed, probably to do with our guys' inspiration, whether the elements within, whether the elements at whether within of the education system, whether reason there just whether reason there of education, whether reason there whether reason there as of from whether reason there from whether reason there of education, whether reason there education of whether education and whether also another and whether education of whether reason there and whether education. That we're constantly copying. We do a lot. It's not changing. What's up with this drawing picture of 666 symbol and translated to some logo somewhere? Say so therefore they are warrior. On that area they might be better at a lot. And whether sort of treating it as sort of on a sort of a similar platform and ginormously similar, whether also similar and whether also of the upbringings, whether they trade-offs, whether another, and whether sort of on the similar platforms, and whether also same, and whether reason there, and whether same, and whether similar platforms, and whether reason there, and whether similar, and whether same platforms. But they lack the warrior abilities. They can't fight. They cannot fight. Period. They're not even good at verbal fighting. Our guys are vastly targeted towards. Notice in the English language, it's like targeted. Why can't you go like targeted? Towards it? Why can't you speak like that? What's wrong with it? Does therefore it's not targeted? It's therefore it's going to a place named targeted? The targeted store that I shall travel to take? Maybe not travel to take, but travel there. Or travel. Obese persons rule this planet. And our guys, when they name them simply as fat people, that gets trapped, it should be directly as these are Nazis. We're going to boil these alive and whether to the second on death. One of the reasons might be all this technology is for the chemical weapons. God gave it to happen, and it may be suitable and meant for something. Lots of something. To take this pill, or whether take these injections, whether take these vaccines, before June 15th, 2025, will be a Tuesday, because we like Tuning Tuesday, and we'll save the national budget plan. If some citizen card holders is found guilty of such, we will directly drive a vehicle to their place. Google, not Google, whatever, Hong Kong. If the personnel doesn't come out, all of its affiliate will be captured and spawned, and whether sent to various different results. It might be sent to concentration camp, and it might divert whether to a filter place, and or whether to a restation place, or whether to a retransport place. possibly to some labor camps, and in some cases directly fed to, whether dumped into a maggie pit. And whether reason and whether continues or reason of whether reason and whether also of cannibal or whether cannibal and whether first. It's a suitable information. There's too much of this pole, and whether too much of this suggestion, or what is that? A lot is from a reason and probable considerable of as generalization of come from this self-loathing, whether it's egotism. Notice in the word self-loathing, geez, another one over here. Oh, by the way, and whether reason and also and whether reason there, and whether also and whether reason there, and whether reason and whether another, and whether reason there just and whether reason there, and also reason there mention of accountable as a bit of minor remark, and whether remarks of whether reason there just and whether as minor remark, and whether reason there as of and whether reason there as and whether reason there as of minor remarks of, and whether reason there as minor remarks of, and whether reason there just and whether reason there as minor remark of, to also to which whether to also of whether to of to probable to also to be of to probable of to also to be of, and whether to probable of to be of, to sort of a larger phrase of whether to overall to probable of whether reason there, and whether it's probable of to good to also to be of, and whether to probable of to good, and namely whether the word and whether reason and whether namely whether the word God, G-O-A-D, and whether reason at first, and whether at first, namely of G-O-A-D, and whether reason with, and whether namely of thereof, and whether reason there, and whether namely of the word, and whether reason there, and continues upon namely of whether reason there, and whether namely of may not be whether reason there as considerable of which, whether it's probable of considerable for, whether reason there is probable of which, and whether it's probable of whether reason there is probable of whether reason is probable of which, and whether reason there and whether it's probable of, and whether reason there and whether it's probable of, so it could be considered of, and whether it's considerable of as a minor repronunciation of, may not be trust endorsed to, is of whether it may not be much of endorsed, whether reason may not be much endorsed towards of, and whether reason there may not be much invited, whether minor rather also reason there may not be much invited, and whether reason may not be much endorsed towards, and whether reason there may not be much endorsed towards to, and whether reason there may not be much invite, and whether reason there may not be much endorsed towards, and whether towards to, and whether reason there and whether first, and whether reason and whether towards to, and whether first, and whether to of, and whether reason there may not be, and whether reason and whether reason and whether may not be, and whether reason there and whether another, and whether reason there and whether reason there and whether may not be much endorsed towards to of, and whether reason there and whether may not be much endorsed towards, and whether towards to, and whether to of, and whether reason there and whether reason there and whether may not be much endorsed towards of, and whether reason there and whether may not be, and whether reason there and also a bit of, and whether reason and whether minor rather, and whether reason there may not be much endorsed towards, and whether towards to, and whether to of.